It's John Bowden from Rock History Music, and we begin a feature we were going to start right after Randy Meisner passed away, but we had this great Randy Meisner interview that we wanted to bring back to make sure that you had a chance to listen to his voice, and this interview was from 2000. But here it is, Bill Szymczyk, the guy who got on to the Eagles halfway through the On the Border album. Glenn Johns was the producer before. He started the project, almost finished it. Bill Szymczyk is famous for Joe Walsh, the James Gang, Jay Giles Band, B.B. King, but mostly, and I'm just skimming the top, of course, the Eagles. And we talked to him about his perspective on Glenn Frey. I remind him about some of the troubles that Glenn had with Bernie Leadon. Bernie poured a beer on his head. There was fisticuffs with Randy Meisner, who just passed. We talk about Glenn Frey, the late great, and a lot more with Bill Szymczyk on Rock History Music. When you talk about working with them as opposed to his approach and your approach, that goes back to what I prefaced a while ago, was the fact that, you even said it, you are more of a friend to them as a producer, as opposed to like, it's going to be done this way.
Right. You get more bees with honey than vinegar.
So were they, when you look back in that first album, was that challenging for you? Bernie tells me, not that I need dirt here, I'm not doing this, but Randy tells me, he says, I punched Glenn, and Alan Frey is a good friend of mine. I talk to Alan almost every day. Uh-huh. We don't even talk about the Eagles. We don't talk about Glenn. We just talk about boating and racing, and he loves all that stuff. And I know Alan's gone through some rough stuff back, Glenn's brother. But, he tells me about, his mother calling the radio stations in the beginning and stuff like that. Great little stories that you'd expect from a mother who's dedicated.
Right.
But Bernie told me about, pouring a beer on Glenn's head. Randy told me, but both of them look back at it going, we were young.
Yeah. It was Glenn had a way of picking, if there was something that was bugging him, he would not let it go. And so thusly, when a little, dispute or something would go, I wasn't there for the beer or the punch, if you were. That was all on tour or whatever. And that never happened during any kind of sessions.
By the way, before we start, Randy Bachman, not Bachman, Bernie Leadon, not Leadon, Glenn, not Glenn Shorrock, Glenn Shorrock of LRB, speaking of vocal bands. How many people have screwed up your name through the years?
Everybody. It's been everything. I'll tell you, the best story ever was when I first joined the Navy, and it was day one, and they go line up alphabetically. Robert Owens, a big, black dude. He was in charge. And so I got down to the S's and said, see where the T's started, right? And I just sandwiched myself in there. So he's going down the list. He goes, Smith, Stanley, yada, yada. He starts looking at it. He goes, all right, who's the motherfucker whose last name looked like the bottom line on the eye chart? I said, that's me, sir.
Mr. Sonar. There you go. Man, that is crazy. I mean, I know everyone tells you this, but the thing is, your history getting to the spot where you're behind the controls is as interesting as it is after you get there. I mean, your twists and turns, connecting your handmade radio to the accidentally to the springs of a
springs, yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah. I know. And for it to come up with WLAC in Nashville, Tennessee, I mean, like, what? Opened a whole new world to this white boy.
So were you the inquisitive part? I mean, I know you described yourself as a person, you're a good listener, you know people. I'll always go with the people who know how to understand people, and you get the best out of them that way. Maybe that's why Glenn and you work very differently. But for you, were you always inquisitive in that way? When did you think you started realizing the importance of zoning in and understanding people to give them what they want and for you to get what you want?
I saw that working when I was just an engineer before I started producing. when I was working for people like Jerry Ragavoy and Quincy Jones and people like that, engineering for them. And I saw how they handled people and sessions and so on and so forth. And I went, oh, I see. You can you get a lot more out of people if you go for the honey instead of the vinegar, if you know what I mean. Just treat people nice and you'll get better results as opposed to being, commandeering, demanding, do it my way, one of those things. So it's always been, record making is obviously a collaborative experience. And for everybody to get their say, and at the end of the day, did everybody feel like you got what you needed? Boom. That's how you do it.
The one of the weird questions I ask people, and I'm 63, so everyone who I interview, they're at least 10 years older than me. And I
try double.
Yeah, well, there you go.
20 almost.
So with me, I'll sometimes ask a blunt question. I'm going, why are you still alive? And I don't mean it that way, but the thing is, you came through an era of success and excess.
Right.
I know that I talked to Randy a few years ago, Randy Meisner, and he was in good health at the time. And he was the first to explain that, he got himself into a lot of trouble. But I mean, when Steve Lukather of Toto, I said, what would you change? He said, well, maybe less of the white stuff. But some people through nurture or nature, through whatever, luck of whatever, you're some of your cohorts aren't here anymore.
Right.
You're survived and you seem healthy.
I'm hanging in there. We all got, you all got your hiccups as you get to be 80 years old. Trust me. But it's like just maintain and keep going.
We're going to have a lot more from Bill Szymczyk coming up tomorrow. Every day for the next about a week and a half, we'll have a different clip from Bill. If you're a Patreon member, you'll have access to all the clips early. There'll be links in the description where you can join our Patreon. If you want to support the channel in other ways, there are links there as well. You can make a PayPal donation. But really, like our videos, share our videos, comment on them, subscribe to the channel, spread the word for us. We'd appreciate that. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music.